Alright, what's going on, YouTube? Here today, talk a little bit about a law going through, or that's being introduced in Congress right now. It's a fantastic piece of linguistic propaganda. It's up there with the Patriot Act, the Think of the Children Act of 2019. No, it's the Keep Americans Safe Act. Right? And it sounds great. Who doesn't want to keep Americans safe? But what it's proposing won't actually do anything to keep anybody safe. And here's why. So the main point of the bill is to eliminate the possession, sale, and transfer of magazines that can possess a large quantity of rounds, right? And their idea of large quantity is anything over 10. So just coming to mind, that automatically gets rid of some of your more favorable handguns for personal defense, such as a Glock, things like that. Last time I checked, standard capacity for something like the AR was 30 rounds, but it sounds pretty terrible to these guys. See, the issue is it's all coming from this mass shooting thing, and they seem to think, because they have absolutely no grasp on the subject itself, that if the shooters just weren't able to hold so many rounds at once, that nobody would have died. But anybody that's trained with a firearm, right, can tell you it does not take long to reload once you've trained with it. And something tells me that the people that are doing these mass shootings might have ran through the scenario once or twice. So what's going to happen is they're going to pass this feel-good law, right? They'll talk about, oh, it's great that we're keeping the American people safe because it's under a fairly auspicious name. Nobody's really going to pay it any mind either. I haven't really seen any news talking about this law, and you kind of got to dig a little bit to even know that that's being discussed. But they're going to talk about this law. First off, gun manufacturer sales going to be through the roof. It seems to be whenever Congress even talks about passing a law like this, everybody just goes out and buys whatever stock they can, right? Because it's real unfortunate that all those magazines, wound up in a boating accident. All of our neighbors also had tragic boating accidents with their weapons and their magazines. The place is just a place of geographical oddity. But no, they'll go out. People are going to buy up these things en masse. The law probably won't get approved. I mean, Trump doesn't have the strongest track record on the Second Amendment, and I understand that, fakes right, bans bump stocks, but so they're going to pass, or they're going to try to pass this feel-good law, and let's say it does pass, right? The House passes it, the Senate passes it, Trump signs off on it, it's now law, right? Nobody's going to turn this shit in, right? Well, maybe not nobody, but a very small amount. I'd say like 2%, right? Because we don't have to have our stuff registered right now, depending on what state you're in. But the majority of us aren't on some type of registry to tell the government what exactly we can or do not have as far as firearms go. And this isn't even a firearm itself. It's like it's like an accessory, right? Besides this law, I don't think that there's any type of laws about manufacturing your own magazine or anything like that. So no, nobody's going to turn it in. And then, so what's going to happen is mass shootings will continue, right? And right now, anything over 10 is considered high capacity. But once 10 is the highest you can go, it's the new high capacity, right? So these shooters, right, it's going to take them all of, 1.5 extra seconds to reload another magazine. And it's going to show absolutely no drop in gun crime or deaths in total, right? And the liberals, right, they're so-called liberals, they're going to come out and they're going to say that law just didn't reach far enough, right? We just need one more law. One more law, we can save everyone. So they're going to come out, they're going to be like, why do you need a gun that holds 10 rounds, right? What are you, a barbarian? You can't hit the deer in 10 rounds? No, you only need 5 rounds, right? So then 5 is going to become the new standard. 10 is going to be considered overkill. And the cycle continues. And it'll fucking happen, right? You know it. Because they're arguing shit like this already. They fucking... they get it into their mind, right, that there's absolutely no cultural problem going on, right? The mass shooting and gun crime debate is complex. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not immediately clear how we stop it or if we even can. Me personally, I don't think we can. And as Thomas Jefferson once said, I would rather live in dangerous liberty than peaceful servitude. I believe that the risk of there being a crazy person, it does not outweigh our liberties in general. Just basically where I'm coming from on that. So maybe I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this debate, but this type of law will do, right? It will do absolutely zero. And they want to talk about keeping Americans safe. They fail to mention that the most horrific atrocities in man's history is from the government after it disarms people. People be like, oh, well, you can't take on our military with an AR-15. You can't take on a tank with an AR-15. No, you're right. I can't take on a tank with an AR-15. That's why we need AT-4s, right? When the founding fathers passed this shit, they seemed to think that all they had were muskets, but people own their own private cannons and private frigates. But might be a little bit radical, mostly talking off the cuff, tongue in cheek there. But no, it's a tank can't hold ground like how you would need to manage a population. It takes boots on the ground, right? This is why insurgencies are so effective, right? They're not effective in the aspect of being able to really defeat the force, right? You can look at something like Vietnam being a great example. Every engagement in Vietnam was won by Americans, right? But we eventually ended up having to pull out, and most people would say lost the war, by a shift in public opinion, by demoralization of the troops from the insurgency. You didn't know who was who, people were going crazy. They're just some awful shit. But now think about an insurgency in your own country, right? In your own country, I mean, first off, being a veteran, I don't think that I would have had the gusto to go and impose martial law to the point where I'm gunning down other Americans, right? I don't think that's it. I believe in American exceptionalism. I think that we should be a beacon to the rest of the world, and I don't think that gunning down our own citizens is the way to show that. I personally don't think that would benefit. I don't know many people in the military that would jump at the idea of going door to door and, you know, murdering whoever didn't agree. Insurgencies destroy a country's infrastructure, and then it just wouldn't. Here's the thing: the Second Amendment is not there to overturn the tyranny, right? It's there to prevent it in the first place. If you don't let it get to that point, then you don't have to worry about fucking predator drone strikes, right? But it's to prevent it in the first place. You know, you look, I mean, what? Hitler had 6 million, Pol Pot, it's another like 4 million, Stalin at 30 million, Mao at 50 million. These are countries that, you know, disarmed their citizens and they couldn't fight back. In fact, I think one of the more horrible things, besides Pol Pot's killing fields, that dude is a fucking madman. Was, but was the artificial famine that they made in Russia under Stalin. I mean, I don't think that would have been as successful if people had weapons to storm the place where they were. But anyways, yeah. So just wanted to touch some base on this new law, what they're talking about. You know, call, let your representatives know what you think about it, and until then, take it easy.